Today we're going to be installing a K&N cold air intake on my 2014 Audi A4. As you can see here, the tools that will be needed is a flat blade screwdriver, a ratchet, a 10mm socket, a 9/16 inch socket, extension, 4mm Allen key, T25 Torx, T27 Torx, and a 10mm wrench. First, we're going to start by going underneath the hood and removing the old airbox. The first thing you're going to have to do is to remove this plastic trim piece right here. Now you're going to have 4 buttons, one right here, one right here, one right here, and one right here. As you can see, mine only has 2. That's just how I bought the car, but yours will probably have all 4. Now what you're going to do is take something like a screwdriver or like a pen or just something like that and push this down. Not all the way, just until you get one click. Push it down all the way, it could fall down and roll away. So you're going to push all these little buttons down on all of these. They'll look like this. Push that little button down, and then it should come up. And once you have all of the buttons depressed, just pull up like that on all of them. Remove this, put it aside. Now there will be some clips holding this into the front, even after you take all of these buttons out. So you're just gonna wanna push these and unclip the front and take this whole trim piece off. Now what we'll have to do is take off this piece which directs the air into the air filter. And we're going to do that by removing these little bolts right here, one on each side. I believe that these are T25 Torx bits. You're just going to want to take these right off. Now once you've got these 2 bolts removed right here, you'll be able to pull this whole piece out. It is connected with a rubbery plastic chute onto this little plastic bit of the airbox. And you can just wiggle that around and pull it right up. You won't break it. I think there's a clip somewhere in there, but it just pops right out. And then you got this piece. Put that to the side. Now in order to pull this whole airbox out, we're going to need to take off, or loosen at least, this clamp right here, which holds the tube onto the actual airbox itself. Now you can just use a flathead, or you could use a socket if you want to. I just like using a flathead. And just loosen this up just enough for the tube to be able to slide out. Just give it a couple turns. Now before you pull it out, you're going to want to take out your O2 sensor right here. Just unplug that. There's a little gray tab right here that you kind of push down and pull back. And just do that very gently because you don't want to break this. Just pull it out, give it a little wiggle, push the gray part down, and slides right out. Now I don't want to just let it dangle and get damaged, so I'm actually just going to move it up here and put it right there. So that way I don't have to worry about anything banging around and hitting it. Now that I've loosened this clamp, I can just pull this tube. You can see right here where it's starting to come. Just pull this tube and kind of wiggle it off. I'm going to need to use 2 hands to do it. And just wiggle this tube right here off of the air filter. Now with this hose disconnected, I'm going to find this little bolt right here and unscrew it from the hanger right here and unscrew this. And that will allow me to pull this rubber piece right off of the hanger. And giving this whole airbox a good wiggle and a pull, it should come right out. So here's your whole airbox system. And this big empty space is what you have left. And now once you've loosened this bolt for the hook, I'm just going to show you how to remove it. Basically, I'm going to need to just take the hook, once you've taken out the bolt, and turn it like that, and then it'll be able to pop just out like that. Now what we're going to do is replace this tube with this tube that they provide in the kit, and how we're going to do that is to loosen this clamp down here, which you're probably going to need a socket to get to because it's kind of an awkward angle. But if you can use a flathead, then you probably could if you can reach it in there. You're just going to loosen this a little bit, and this whole tube should come right off. So you're actually going to have to loosen this quite a bit, this bottom clamp right down here. You got to loosen it enough to get over this little lip right here, and then this pulls right out, and right here you've got your turbo right here. And down that hole, that's where if you want to get some extra horsepower, you just pour a couple cups of windshield washer fluid right in there and you get some extra horsepower. So after that, you got that tube removed and you've got your windshield washer fluid poured down into your turbo. You're going to want to take the provided tube right here that comes in the kit, and you're going to want to put the smaller clamp around the smaller end of the tube, and that's going to go right over here over your turbo. Push that down and then tighten it, but not fully. Don't tighten it fully until the thing is assembled. Now once you get it on there just snug enough so that way you don't have to worry about it pulling off by accident, you do want to keep it loose so that way you can still turn this and twist it in case you need to move it in order to connect it to the filter once it's set up. Now we're actually going to need a part from the old Airbox, and it is this part right here that the oxygen sensor that we unplugged earlier plugs into. So in order to get that out, it's just these two Torx bolts, one right here and one right here, and we're going to want to take that out. So with some wiggling and pulling, you'll be able to pull this out. One side is going to have like this grate type thing, and then you can see the sensor in there itself right here, and there's going to be an arrow, and when you install it on here, if I can find the arrow right here, the arrow is pointing in the direction that the air is flowing, so it's going to be flowing towards the engine. So the filter is going to be on this side, turbo tube is going to be on this side. The arrow points to where the air will be flowing. Now that we have this little sensor housing removed, we're going to install it onto the provided heat shield. And how we're going to do that is we're going to slide this in behind the way it is. You can see how this is the curved part, and this is where the hole is on the right side of the heat shield. And we're going to slide the heat shield over this and bolt it into place. So this kit comes with all the hardware, and how we're going to do it is we're going to take the bolts, washers, and nuts, all provided, and bolt this to this piece right here, to the heat shield, and we're going to find the holes, line them up, and then bolt them on. Now I will show you, now that I have it in place, this is what I'm talking about. The arrow is going to be pointing that way to the right, and you're going to want to have it mounted in a way that the little plug-in right here is pointing that way. And you can see here, if you're looking through it at this angle, the sensor is going to be coming from the left side of the tube right here. So after you have this piece mounted to the heat shield, you're going to want to take this L bracket thing and mount it to the heat shield right here. Not to the top bolt, you're going to want to mount it down here to the middle bolt, with the top one being on the middle bolt right here, and mount it right here. So after you install the L bracket piece on the side right here, then you can go ahead and put the trim around it, which is the rubber trim, and it says to cut it into 3 different lengths: 18-inch, 17-inch, and 16-inch. And those are pretty like rough estimates. You're gonna have to probably trim it up once you have it on here, like I did. Don't tighten this all the way because you do want it to be able to move when you're installing the heat shield in. And then the next step is going to be to install this piece onto this bottom mount right here. So you're going to put a washer and then the bolt right through there through the top. So now once you have that, in order to actually mount it into the thing, you're going to have to remove the headlight nut, which is right here where this one is. You're going to want to unscrew that, and then once you have that out, you can push that last piece that we assembled on the heat shield, put that down into where the airbox was mounted down in this hole, and then line it up so that way the new bolt can go into where the old bolt was that you removed. And now we just have to move this and attach this to that. This in place, and we've got both of those mounting brackets completely tightened up. The next step is to put a mounting bracket around the filter itself and just push it right onto where the air sensor is, right here. So now I finally got the filter itself pushed onto the airflow sensor, and I've just got to tighten this down. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to lie to you, it took me a little over 5 minutes to just get this thing pushed on there. You really got to push and twist, and just, it's a really tight fit on there, but it's a really nice snug fit once you get it all the way on. So just, you'll know when you get it on, you got to kind of push and twist and stretch out this rubber tubing over the plastic of the tube. And once you've got the filter installed and everything tightened up, you can go ahead and plug in your air sensor right here. Okay, so now all I pretty much did was I connected this piece, which comes with the kit. Pretty self-explanatory. It just bolts in to here and here on the heat shield, and then you just reinstall the factory little thing right here with these 2 bolts, and then you're all set to go. So I'll give it a couple of revs.